As a women's rights in the workplace lawyer, I got to tell you about your protections in the workplace for menstruation, pregnancy, perimenopause, and menopause. Even though menstruation, menopause, and perimenopause, there aren't yet specific laws in place that speak to the issues that affect only women and often alter and change and deeply affect performance. And women either self exile and droves leave the workforce every year because of menopausal symptoms, or they're terminated for performance that is affected by menopause and nobody's talking about it in the workplace. So here's what you have to know. Obviously, menopause and perimenopausal symptoms are occur at the intersection of sex, age, typically over 40, and people over 40 are protected under federal age statutes. And it is also, the symptoms are clearly sex specific. And when they're severe enough, they are also impairments that may be covered under the Americans with Disabilities Act Amendments Act and are often covered under more broadly construed and liberal state and local anti-discrimination statutes like we have in New York. But here's the upshot, because this has been the trend. Right now, the EEOC is about to publish its newest guidelines post Pregnant Workers Fairness Act that will include the notion of, get ready, what a big epiphany, protections for menstruating women at work. You know, listen, it's so nuts, isn't it? We live in a patriarchal culture. We live in, corporate America is still largely feudal in nature. Here's the thing. Periods, perimenopause, pregnancy, and menopause happen at work. And while nobody is talking about it in these United States yet, many women every year self-exile and leave the workforce due to menstrual symptoms, and many other women are let go for performance issues related to perimenopause and menopause, and that's a shame, isn't it? That just enrages me. And I'm saying that here's, instead of just allowing it to happen, what one does is, if you are suffering from symptoms related to perimenopause and menopause that are happening because you are a woman of a certain stage, as they say, right? And these are also disabling issues, especially when they are diagnosed by your prime provider, right? I'm telling you that your employer is going to blink, is going to say, if you talk to about your needs, if you're not feeling well, if you're not feeling like yourself, if you're, especially when these symptoms are interfering with performance, insomnia, brain fog, muscular issues, orthopedic issues, hormonal issues. You know, listen, if men went through andropause like women went through menopause, we would have menopause awareness in every workplace. We would have hormone fluctuation days off. We would have on-site therapy. It's just like I said, if men could get pregnant, forget about the paternity leave would be a year-long fully paid, and then there'd be an option for a year-long sabbatical to recover and bond with your baby. But in the meantime, because it's women, we poo-poo it, we don't take it seriously, we say it's your problem, it's too icky for us to consider. But you know what? When are we going to push back on this? So I'm telling you that if, instead of just allowing this to unfold and being victimized and taking it on the chin and just going, well, nobody cares and nobody's supposed to care, and they don't care. Here's when they do care. When you raise a concern at work and it's framed as a sex-specific issue, a sex and age issue. Now, by the way, let me just interrupt myself and say, when comments are made that are sexist, ageist, or ableist, in the sense that someone makes a comment about, your menopausal symptoms, or, a joke. We joke about it in the culture. But when someone is making a negative comment about your life stage in any particular way, it's discriminatory based on sex, age, and disability. That's for real and for sure. So if and when you feel that you need a little support, you frame it as these are sex and age specific requests for flexibility, right? And especially if you're complaining that you're not getting it, or someone is saying something stupid to you that is insulting with reference to your life stage as a woman of a certain age, that's illegal. And when you complain about it or request some accommodation from your company because of this, they will take it seriously because they understand that you're now raising an issue that is at least arguably protected by law, particularly when you're talking about sex and age issues. And so they will not likely make it worse for you at that point because it would be retaliatory. As I said in one of my more recent videos, this is not about going to trial and winning a case. I am looking for in New York City cases now that actually implicate these issues of perimenopause and menopause, particularly in terms of terminations, because under the New York City human rights law, there's no question that perimenopausal and menopausal symptoms themselves are protected without it being directly related to the life stage. The symptoms are entitled to flexibility and accommodations, and in many other states as well. There was a case in California a couple of years ago. There was a case in New York where discriminatory comments that were made in relation to these particular life stages were deemed actionable. So again, we're talking about empowerment here. I'm talking about getting your employer, it's like the slingshot that David used on Goliath, right? Outmatched, we're all outmatched in terms of the power and the resources of our employers, but we have our own slingshots when it comes to stating your protected right or your grievance or your need, framing it as such in writing, has to be in writing, and then giving your employer the chance to hook you up in some way, to be flexible. They may surprise you. They will surprise you. I've seen it happen with my own clients. So that's really important. And then if things happen to go south, instead of just throwing yourself on your own sword and quitting and walking away without even unemployment insurance benefits, you'll be in a far better position to command the severance package because your company is going to want to settle with you to get you to sign a general release of claims, and there's a certain amount of money in consideration for that they will likely offer. But I don't want that to happen. I want you to maintain your employment. It's just that what an outrage, isn't it? What an outrage that women who go through everything from menstruation through menopause at work have zero support, zero policies, absentee policies. There's no support with regard to the simplest flexibility and accommodation to help women deal with these natural limitations of being a female going through various stages, and nobody cares. But they have to care if it is affecting your ability to perform fully the essential functions of your job. Does this make sense? These are sex-specific issues sex and age-specific issues and disability issues entitled to protection. And they're certainly exempt from retaliatory backlash.